Night of February 19, 2022, a 41-year-old woman named Paula Ruiz was working the reception desk at a 4-star hotel in southern Mexico. It was finally nearing the end of Paula's shift. Paula took a moment and grabbed her phone and checked it, and she saw there was a text message from her 19-year-old son saying he would be picking her up after work on his motorbike. And then just a couple of minutes later, Miguel, her son, actually walked in the front door of the hotel. He waved to his mom and said, hey, I parked my motorbike just down the street. Whenever you're ready, we can leave. Paula, she walked over, she gave him a kiss and a hug, and then she began gathering her things. Her son absolutely loved his motorbike, was always looking for an excuse to ride it. That was why he was so eager to give his mom a ride home. She and her son walked out the front doors of the hotel to where Miguel always parked his bike whenever he picked his mom up from work. When they turned the corner and looked at the spot, his bike wasn't there. Miguel became convinced that someone must have stolen his bike. But Miguel still had the keys to his motorcycle, which meant whoever had stolen it had likely hotwired it. And since that takes quite a bit of time to pull off components of the bike and kind of fiddle around with the wires to make it start, Miguel was thinking maybe they're still in the area. Let's go look for them and get the bike back. The city in southern Mexico was called San Cristobal de las Casas. It was a very dangerous place, full of lots of street crime and violence and gangs that used the area as a hotspot for drug trafficking. But Paula and Miguel, they knew this. They lived there. Paula and Miguel began running down these side streets, looking all over the place for Miguel's bike. They're running around, and then finally they turn a corner and Miguel sees up ahead his distinctive yellow motorbike, and he sees some stranger is pushing it along. Miguel and Paula begin charging down the road, and Miguel actually gets in front of this guy and stops him, and then Paula, she joins her son and she starts screaming at him as well and taking videos and pictures. And then as this is happening, another man on a motorbike came flying up behind Paula and Miguel, and as they did, Paula and Miguel heard the sound of the engine and they turned around, and all Paula saw was this young man holding a gun, aiming it at her son, Miguel, right at his chest. Her motherly instincts kicked in and she leapt in front of her son. Not knowing what else to do, she raised her phone and took a picture. And then seconds later, there was a loud bang. This guy who had been trying to steal Miguel's bike gave it up. He dropped the bike. He took off running down the road, and the gunman, he too turned his bike around and sped off down the road. Paula was on the ground because a second after she took that photo, the gunman had shot her in the chest. Paula would be taken to the hospital, but she would die the following morning, orphaning Miguel and his 3 siblings. However, the photo that Paula took of her killer seconds before he killed her was such a high-quality photo showing his face that just 2 days after her murder, police were able to use that photo to find the killer as well as his accomplice, and they were both arrested.